Hey folks, welcome back to another video with flyfishingwithjeff.com. And as you can see, I'm not on the water, but I am here on my front porch and my wife's running the camera. And it's a cold, crappy end of October. Tomorrow, in fact, I'll be out hunting muskies. But one of the questions I get, probably more than anything, is my setup. And if you've been with me through the years, you know that probably my favorite rod is this bank robber. I've got a 6-weight. Just bought another 7-weight up in Wisconsin this last month. So I'm going to set this up for you and as quickly as possible and show you a couple of things. This is the fly line that I'm putting on there. I get a lot of questions from you all about that. I've got to go to the glasses here, as Tony Kornheiser says, but this is the Rio In Touch streamer tip. Weight forward 6, floating sink tip 1, meaning it's going to sink at about 1.5 inches per second. It allows me to do all kinds of good things. So anyway, I've got the fly line now attached to my backing, and I've got the end here that already has a pre-welded loop on it. And so the first thing I'm going to do is this is a 6-weight system, so let's keep in mind that probably I'm going to go down to maybe the smallest ever is going to be a 4X tippet. Probably rarely do I go, well, I just don't go any smaller than that, not with this system. And that 4X tippet would be trout fishing somewhere. So we're going to set this thing up so that I can do something small like 4X and also put on some 20-pound test for some big smallmouth and fish of that nature. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tie a perfection loop. You can see that other places on my video. If you don't know how to tie this loop, then it's one of those that you really need to learn how to perfect. So I've got my perfection loop here, and I'm going to go, as they say, monkey to monkey. Run this in here. Pull this through, and I will make an adjustment on the length here in just a second and work it through. These welded loops are kind of tiny, but you don't have to start with the fly line like in the old days and deal with attaching that. So I'm going to run my 50-weight knot through, and so it should look like that, loop to loop. That's what we want. Give it a good tug. Everything's good. Now, here's where I'm going to change up a little bit on you. I'm going to make sure that this is all nice and tight. Remember, this is 50-pound stuff, and I'm going to make that cut as close to the nut as possible. Okay? Again, making sure that nothing pops loose. And here's where I'm going to go to my bondique. I've talked to you guys about this before. I set this up on this very rod with the line exactly a year ago, so I got 1 year out of that line, which is pretty amazing. And I'm going to go to the bondique, and I'm going to put a drop right around this position right here, this lower knot. Okay? And my tube's about running out. That's how much bondique I usually use. So I'm going to go around that bondique. And you say, well, why? What for? Well, not only is it strengthening the knot, but I'm creating a very fluid loop that will go through my eyes of my rod if I have to get to that situation. So I'm going to hit the torch, spin it around, let it dry. And if you've used this bondique before, don't do this out in the sun. That's a no-no, okay? Because as soon as the UV hits it, it's done. But now I've created this really beautiful little knot right there, as you can see. And it will flow through my tippet, or through my eyelets. So that's 50 pound coming off the test. Now the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out about 18 inches, okay? This isn't rocket science. And I'm going to tie another loop to loop right there. So we're going to cut that baby off and do another perfection loop. Okay, run it through. And once again, I've got 50 pound here, and it's pretty darn tough stuff. Now, I'm not going to go through that process, but after I'm done here, I'm going to go back through and clip right here, clip the tag in, add the Bondique to each one of these connection points all the way down the system. So that's 50 pound coming off of the fly line. My next attachment, I'm going to go to 30. Now I know there's some very complicated patterns out there. It just doesn't, in my opinion, and I catch a few fish each year, it doesn't need to be that complicated. I'm going from the fly line to 50 and from 50 to 30. Remembering this is a 6-weight system, so when I say that, if I were talking about a 3-weight system, I wouldn't start with 50, I might start with 30 and work my way down. So I'm going to go perfection loop. And again, if you do this enough, you can do this even in the water when your fingers are cold and your brain is shut down. And again, I've not cut the tags. I'm not cutting that tag loop off. So I'm going to go back. Now I'm going to attach the 30 to the 50, okay, by running it through and pulling it. Yeah, hold on a minute, got to figure this one out. Okay, so I'm going to pull it through. And work my way through, and I've got, again, loop to loop. I think they call that Chinese handcuff somewhere along the line, but that's what it should look like. And again, that's as tough as I can do it. So now I've got a 50 to a 30, and I've got about another 18-inch piece. I'm going to put one more perfection loop in the bottom of the 30. And again, every one of these I'm going to be using the Bondique on when I get done. Now I got fly line, I got 50, I got 30. And to end this pattern today, I'm going to go down to 20. And this is just all mono. This isn't nothing expensive here. So I'm going to go down to a little bit longer section of 20 pound test. Okay? I'm going to clip that off. And I'm going to go again to the perfection loop. If you don't know how to do the perfection loop, look that up on my website. I've showed you how to do that with a nice yellow fly line right out here on the front porch. So I went from fly line to 50, 50 to 30. Now I'm going to go 30 to 20. And seeing that tomorrow I'm going to be fishing for bass, that's going to be the end right there. That's going to be the end of my tippet. So leader to tippet, I'm going to go down to 20 pounds. There it is again. Okay. Now if I'm fishing for trout, I'm going to take that, I'm going to clip that off, I'm going to tie one more perfection loop, and I'm going to go 4X or 3X or 2X or 1X or 0X or whatever it is, depending on the water, the staining of the water, how fast the water's flowing, how big the fish is, all those kinds of things. Remember, I'm a streamer guy, I'm throwing meat. So, one more time real quick, I've got the fly line attached to the backing. I've got the welded loop with the fly line to 50 pound. I've got 50 going to 30. I've got 30 going to 20. And for tomorrow's purposes, since I'm going to be fishing for some bass along with the muskie around lily pads, I'm going to tie on a big old honkin' frog popper, and that's probably what I'm going to have on the end of my fly line. So I hope this helps you out, gives you a little better idea of how to go through all this. Don't underestimate, folks, that right there. That little tip of adding Bondique to the knots, that got me 1 year on this system last time, and really this part, the leader and the tippet did not tear up. The fly line finally did break down because of all the abuse that I put it through in a year. So hope that helps. If it does, shoot me an email on my website, flyfishingwithjeff.com, or give me a thumbs up on YouTube. Thank you.